Chapter 31. I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Doth not he see my ways, and count all my steps? If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot hath hasted to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. If my step hath turned out of the way, and mine heart walked after mine eyes, and if any blot hath cleaved to my hands, then let me sow, and let another eat. Yea, let my offspring be rooted out. If mine heart have been deceived by a woman, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind unto another, and let others bow down upon her. For this is a heinous crime, yea, it is an iniquity to be punished by the judges. For it is a fire that consumeth to destruction, and would root out all mine increase. If I did despise the cause of my manservant, or of my maidservant, when they contended with me, what then shall I do when God riseth up? And when he visiteth, what shall I answer him? Did not he that made me in the womb make him? And did not one fashion us in the womb? If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or have eaten my morsel myself alone, and the fatherless hath not eaten thereof. For from my youth was brought up with me, he was brought up with me, as with a father, and I have guided her from my mother's womb. If I have seen any perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and if he were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless when I saw my help in the gate, then let mine arm fall from my shoulder blade, and mine arm be broken from the bone. For destruction from God was a terror to me, and by reason of his highness I could not endure. If I have made gold my hope, or have said to the fine gold, Thou art my confidence, if I rejoice because my wealth was great, and because mine hand had gotten much, if I beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness, and my heart hath been secretly enticed, or my mouth hath kissed my hand, this also were an iniquity to be punished by the judge, for I should have denied the God that is above. If I rejoice at the destruction of him that hated me, or lifted up myself when evil found him, neither have I suffered my mouth to sin by wishing a curse to his soul. If the men of my tabernacle said not, Oh, that we had of his flesh, we cannot be satisfied. The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler. If I covered my transgressions as Adam, by hiding mine iniquity in my bosom, did I fear a great multitude, or did the contempt of families terrify me that I kept silence, or went not out of the door? Oh, that one would hear me! Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary had written a book. Surely I would take it upon my shoulder, and bind it as a crown to me. I would declare unto him the number of my steps. As a prince would I go near unto him. If my land cry against me, or that the furrows likewise thereof complain, if I have eaten the fruits thereof without money, or have caused the owners thereof to lose their life, let thistles grow instead of wheat, and cockle instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. This chapter is virtually the last of what Job says. Not quite. There is some at the very end, but this is pretty much the end of his argument to his three friends. He answers them very well. He said, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? In other words, basically what he's saying was, he looked upon his wife, for instance, and he made a covenant that he loved her. Why should he think upon something else, to commit the sin of adultery, for instance? For what portion of God is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? In other words, The inheritance that he was going to get, as far as he was aware, was what he was going to inherit in this life on earth. Is not destruction to the wicked and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? The things that happen that are judgments of God happen on this earth. Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps? In other words, doesn't God know everything that I do? If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot hath hasted to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know my integrity. In other words, if God thinks there's something amiss, something that he hasn't done right, then weigh him in a scale and find out whether or not he's done right mostly or he's done bad mostly. And then in verse 8, then let me sow and another eat, yea, let my offspring all be rooted out. If mine heart have been deceived by a woman, if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind unto another, let her make wheat and flour, all the rest of it to others, let others bow down upon her. In other words, let her have other men as for her husband. For this is a heinous crime. If he's done any of those things, this is a horrible thing. It's an iniquity that should be punished by the judges, by being condemned by the legal authorities. For it is a fire that consumeth to destruction, and will root out all my increase. If he had been that way, if he had been dishonest or unrighteous or morally corrupt, then that would root out every bit of his increase. He understands that. If I did despise the cause, in other words, if he did not accept a problem that his manservant or his maidservant had when they said to them, I have a problem. What will I do when God rises up on me? When he visited, what shall I answer him? Did not he, God, that made me in the womb, also make my manservant and maidservant? Did not one fashion us both in the womb? If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or have eaten my morsel alone, in other words, if he just kept everything to himself, and the fatherless had not eaten of the food that I have, okay? If I have seen anyone perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering, okay? If a person was not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless, when I saw my help in the gate, then let mine arm fall from my shoulder. Let my arm fall off, and mine arm be broken away from the bone. Let it be ripped away from me. For destruction from God was a terror to me. He understood that he needed to live righteously. And by reason of God's highness, he could not endure being ignorant or being vile or being arrogant or being unrighteous. If I have made gold my hope, or have said to fine gold, thou art my confidence, if I trusted in wealth, okay? If I beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness. In other words, if I worshipped the sun, the moon, the stars as gods, or my mouth had kissed my own hand. In other words, if I thought, oh, how wonderful I am, this were an iniquity to be punished by the judge, for I should have denied that God which is above. In other words, I didn't worship false idols. And then he says, if I rejoice at the destruction of him that hated me, if there were people that did not like him, and he rejoiced at anything bad that happened, neither has he suffered that any bad words, wishing anything bad would happen, would leave his mouth. If the men of my tabernacle said not, oh, that we had of his flesh, we cannot be satisfied. The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler. Job is reciting here that he has done absolutely everything of the commandments that Moses gave to the children of Israel. Everything.